so now we will move on to the next talk by Professor Subbachary Garu.
Thank you, sir. I'll
Professor
just go on mute.
Subbachary, yeah. Professor Subbachary Garu is has been my colleague at the University of Hyderabad in culture research center where we were working. And we have many things in common. He is also like me. He comes from a literature background. He also like me. He is also a classical literature specialist and a classical poet. But his greatest merit is in his enormous amount of a long period research, folklore research on several topics, dedicated in his entire life. He has got a very big number of publications to his credit, lots of conferences and seminars participation experience. He was the dean, registrar, controller of examinations, etc. at the Dravidian University located at Kuppam. And he retired from the Dravidian University Kuppam and did a post-retirement job at the University of Hyderabad also. And even now, he is so much active and dedicated in his field-based culture research. Even today, he keeps contributing to various forums, various publications. Amazing that he did not retire from his work, though he retired from his job. Over to you, Professor Subbachary.
Excuse me, sir. There is a lot of echo when
Yeah.
speaking.
So, Subbachary Garu, are you logged in from two equipments? There is an echo.
No.
There is an echo
I
coming.
think
Only
you
one
have
computer.
closed everything. You are joining from a closed circuit. You have to open some doors.
Good morning, everyone who is visible on the screen and off the screen. Most of the participants are my friends. So good morning, everyone. Today's my topic is on constructs of celestial spaces created through the processes of Jatara. So in Telugu, Jatara, Kolupu, Tirunalla, all these three are synonyms. Jatara is derived from Sanskrit root, and Kolupu and Tirunalla, these are native terms. And then today I'm going to delineate how a Jatara, Tirunalla or Kolupu is processed through many ways, and how many kinds of Jataras are there, and how a place, a physical place, is transformed into a sacred one, a profane status to a sacred status, and how a place is transported, a terrestrial space is transported into a celestial one, or how a godly world is brought down to the earth for certain period. And I don't know how many scholars are exploring in this way. And a word that is liminality. This word, these two words are used in anthropology in a different meaning. But today I am using these two words, liminal. Actually, this liminal is derived from the limit, what I understand. Liminality, generally these two words are used in anthropology in a just negative sense. When it is called a liminal period, generally the liminal period is considered as a period of pollution. But now I am using these two terms in a different way. And how a profane kind of space profane kind of time are transformed into a sacred one and into a celestial kind of things. This is my topic today. And particularly, I'm going to classify these classify the jataras into two kinds. The Kolupu or whatever it may be. The Kolupu is a native word, and Kolupu means Koluchu, Kolupu. Kolupu is a noun, and Koluchu is the verb. And Kolavadam means Pujinchadam. That means offering a kind of worship. That's it. And to my mind, I can classify the jataras into two kinds. One jatara has a space, limited space, a closed space, and it has boundaries. It is totally, it is fortified. Nobody can come in and nobody can go out. This space, this is a totally guarded space, and totally boundaries are created. This is one kind of jatara, and the other kind of jatara is open-ended boundaries. Boundary is there, but open-ended. Somebody can join and somebody can go out. So this is another kind of jatara. So to explain these two kinds of jataras, I'm taking 3 examples. One is Mahabharata Draupadi Jatara, Dharmaraj Tirunalla. This is called Draupadi Tirunalla or Dharmaraj Tirunalla or Mahabharatam Jatara. This is one example I'll take. And I'll take another example that happens in a village. Not in a village, that happens in many villages. And what I did field work in all these villages, I'll take that example also. And the third one example is Medaram Jatara. Had I got some breathing space, breathing time, and some time, I would have presented some, at least not hundred, if not hundreds, some tens of photos on the screen. But unfortunately, I couldn't spare that much of amount of space trying to get them back to the screen. I could not do that. But anyhow, I can explain the things. Let's at first, I'll start with one jatara that is bounded, that is totally one jatara that happens in a village, and on the border of the village, on the outskirts of the village. Sometimes a Ankamma temple, it's a folk temple, an Ankamma temple may be constructed within the village, or at some villages it may be there on the border of the village. So in Khammam district, there are many such kind of Ankamma temples, Ankamma jataras, Ankamma Kolupus happen in many villages within Khammam district surroundings. Then this jatara happens in a village. And what happens in that village? Who are the priests, and who are the officiators, and who participate in what various kinds of castes participate in this processes of that jatara. This jatara may be there for 1 day, may be there for 3 days, may be there for 5 days. It depends upon the seriousness that happened in that village, and the seriousness that is there in the mind of the people of that particular village, depending upon various issues. It may be maybe because of an epidemic, maybe because of once in 5 years it happens, maybe for any other serious reasons. Such kind of serious jatara may happen once in 5 years or once in 3 years, and this jatara may go on for 3 days or 5 days. Then what happens? For the initiation, the village panchayat, village sarpanch, and village elderly people, they invite the traditional pujaris, the traditional acharmantulu. They are Kommula. In some villages, they may be called Velpula. In some villages, they are Kommula. In some villages, some Madigas also participate in that one. And even the Kommula also belong to the Madiga caste, and they are one sect of Madiga caste. And these Kommula, and sometimes in some villages Bindlavallu, they come to village, they offer a first respect, first puja in the temple. And after that, there will be an announcement in the village. There will be an announcement in the village that in the shortly nearest Sunday, we are going to start the Jatara of Ankamma. And dear villagers, if somebody wants to go out from the village, you have to go before the evening of Saturday. Or dear villagers, if you would like to invite any of your relatives, any of your friends into the villages, you have to invite them and they have to reach in the village before the evening of the coming Saturday. So this announcement will be there on the Thursday or the Friday of that particular week. Then what happens? If at all, they know that, most of the villagers know that within 2 weeks or within 3 weeks, there will be Ankamma Kolupu. It's a large scale Ankamma Kolupu, and they would like to invite particularly their daughters who are away after marriage, who are away from the village, and they invite their daughters and they invite their important relatives. They come into the village. And if somebody wants to go out from the village, they have to leave the village for any other purpose to any other village or medical need, whatever the need may be. They must leave the village before the Saturday evening. Then what they do is the Kommula or the Bindlavallu, they go to all the boundaries of the village. They perform a ritual that is called Polimera Kattu. This Polimera Kattu means for a village, maybe 3 directions, maybe 4 directions, maybe many more directions. At the end of each direction, there is a Polimera. Polimera means the boundary of the village. The pujaris go to that boundary of that village and they sacrifice the border. They sacrifice means they sanctify, not sacrifice. They sanctify the border. They offer a puja. They offer a ritual that is called Polimera Kattu. They bring some Tangedu Mandalu. I did not translate the Tangedu. It's a kind of Pappu Jati Chettu. And Tangedu, and they take 3 stones, 3 small stones, and they keep the 3 small stones on the Polimera, on the border, and they offer this Tangedu Mandalu, and they offer a sacramental kind of puja. Then that is considered as the border is sealed. And the Kommula Pujari or the Bindla Pujari, they do this ritual in all the directions of the village. Then what happened? The village, the entire village space is transformed into a sacred space. So in that sacred space, they sprinkle some kind of water in all the streets of the village. Then the Kommula Pujaris, the Madiga Pujaris, the Bindlas, they sealed the total village. Nobody is supposed to go out and nobody is supposed to come in. Nobody can dare to cross the Polimera because the puja is done there. You can find some Nimbu fruits and Tangedu Mandalu and some three stones which is smeared with turmeric and vermilion. They look at this scene, they fear. They can't they don't want to cross that border. Nobody can dare to cross the border. Then the total village is sealed and the village is sanctified. The village has become, the profane space has become into a sacred space. And within that sacred space, people believe that the goddess Ankamma, she hover over the skies of the village and she moves anywhere. She moves here and there. The entire village is considered as the place of the goddess Ankamma. In such a way, the village is totally transformed into a sacred space. The profane space become into sacred space. This kind of sealing the border, it happens when there is an epidemic. When there is an epidemic, the Masuji may be there, maybe the smallpox may be there, some kind of Antuvyadhi. Antuvyadhi means that is it spreads into the village. So generally, such kind of epidemic may be broken in one particular street, and that particular street, that particular entire village is sealed. That it's a kind of protection. It is a kind of then what we say in this period. This period, this is a COVID period. What we call it is, it's a separation of the village from the other villages, so that this epidemic will not cross the border of the village. That is that's one important purpose. And how scientifically they find a way to seal the village. And similarly, it is an achar. So after sealing this village, the entire ritual will go for 3 days and 5 days. So within these 3 days, see, a bali happens, and bali may be a dunapotu, that means a buffalo, and maybe cows and goats are offered to the goddess. And within these 3 days, the epic of the myth of the goddess is performed in the night time by the Kommula performers. And each and every person, each and every family offers their kind of puja and their kind of respects to the goddess. And within this process, a carpenter person joins there to renovate the Radha, to renovate the cart of the goddess, and a Gola person participates in the process of this ritual. He offers a new sari to the goddess. That is one participation. A Chakali person comes to the temple, and he cleans the surroundings of the temple, and he offers his service. And then another caste person, the Madiga person, comes to there to sacrifice this one. A Bindla person comes there to offer a sacrifice to the goddess. And a goat is cut and beheaded. After that, the stomach of the belly of the goat is torn, and the intestines are taken out. These intestines are offered to the goddess like a garland. That's why in Telugu kind of expressions, Telugu kind of expression of anger, they say that dokka chinchi dolu kadta. That dokka chincham is the torning of the belly, and నీ పేగులు తీసి మెళ్ళ వేసుకుంటా, that I'll take out your intestines and put it in my neck. This is also one kind of expression of the persons. They express their anger in such a way. So these two terms came out from this ritual process. And then వాడు గావు కేక పెట్టాడు. What is this గావు కేక? గావు కేక, గావు పట్టడం is one ritual process that is there in the 3 days or 5 days ritual processes at the Ankamma temple. A Bindla person comes there, and he takes a goat onto the shoulder, and he catches the neck of the goat by his teeth, and he turns the neck of this goat, and that is called gavu pattadam. When the person is performing this gavu, the goat breaks out its voice, big keka. That is called gavu keka. And this is an idiom in Telugu, that gavu keka. It is coming from this ritual process. So in the final day in the third day of the ritual, a he buffalo is offered. That is offered by the Madiga persons. And the Madiga persons and the Kommula persons take the highest place in this ritual process. They are in the highest position in their social role. That one. Here, all the roles are reversed. And the village chief, maybe Patel, Patwari, or Sarpanch, whoever may be, he has to bow his head at the Kommula or the Madiga persons when they are offering their kind of puja to the goddess. At the third day, they sacrifice a buffalo. After that, at the 5th day, they bury a pig, a small pig, in the ground, exactly in front of the goddess. And then only head is visible on the ground, and the remaining part of the pig is is submerged in the ground, and each villager, each family, they bring all their cattle to the temple, and they make the cattle to stampede, to touch that pig's head, and they take away to this one. And after the sacrifice is over, the buffalo sacrifice is over, the blood of the buffalo is mixed in a rice, in the heap of the rice. They mix the blood in that heap, and this blood-soaked rice is sprinkled in the entire village, in the farmers, in the fields also. Then it is considered that the entire village is sanctified. The goddess is appeased. The goddess is brought down from her top, from her peak of anger to the to a cool situation, and it is considered that the entire her anger is gone at the end of the 5th day. So the entire process of this 5 days Jatara, in the entire 5 days, what happened? A village is, a entire village is taken out from that space to some other space. And the goddess Ankamma, and not only the one goddess Ankamma, and 101 village goddesses live, they believe that they live in the village. They move in the entire village invisible. They hover in the skies of the village, and they all these goddesses are appeased. And to that particular time, that particular 3 days and 5 days, this physical space is transformed into a sacred space, and the entire space is transformed into a celestial space, because the goddesses came down from the sky and they lived in the village for 5 days. That is one kind of Jatara. This kind of Jatara is being conducted even today in many villages of Telugu land, maybe in Telangana, maybe in Sarcar districts. In Sarcar districts, there are more than 200 Parentalu goddesses. A Parentalu goddess is a woman who died or killed in an unusual situation. I would like to remember my colleagues Nagaraj, Anand, and some 2 other persons. We made a venture into the Tirupatamma Parentalu Jatara. We went 2 years, consecutive 2 years. We saw that Jatara. That is open-ended Jatara, but this Ankamma Jatara is closed, boundaries are closed. And this is where a space, a physical space, a profane space is transformed into a sacred space. That sacrality remained for 5 days. After 5 days, then the pujaris go to all the boundaries. They remove the Polimera Kattu. They scold the goddess in a filthy words. That's one part of the Jatara. And they remove the Polimera Kattu. Then the village got back to its original space, original physical space, original profane space. So this is one kind of Jatara. It is going on in many places, even today in Telugu land. I would have shown such kind of photographs. Okay, we can do it even after some time also. And the second kind of Jatara is open-ended Jatara. I will take one example, that is Mahabharatam Jatara. This is another very interesting kind of Jataras. I think in the entire world, this kind of Jataras or Kolupus are kind of this kind of rituals happen only in India. Maybe they are in Sri Lanka. To my knowledge goes, this kind of rituals are there in Nepal also. But in remaining places, I traveled in many other countries also. I had an interaction with the folklorists across the world in many countries. but nobody did report me, nobody did inform me that this kind of jataras. Of course, the tribal kind of rituals are there in many European countries, many other African countries. Various kinds of rituals are there. Many anthropologists did lot of research on these kind of rituals, but I did not come across this particular kind of rituals which are there in India. And now I'll take one example of Mahabharata ritual. We did 3 years of consecutive research in Mahabharata ritual in and around Kuppam town, Kuppam nearby villages. Particularly, I concentrated on the village of Yamanuru village. This Draupadi Tirunalla, it goes on for 11 days. In some other villages, actually this entire Draupadi cult is widespread in Tamil Nadu. But some border part of the Andhra Pradesh, which is connecting to the North Arcot district of Tamil Nadu, there Draupadi cult is widespread in Chittoor district. Some places of Nellore district also it is there. But in this Jatara, in this Draupadi temples are there in many places. This Draupadi is not the Draupadi of Mahabharata, actually. This Draupadi is a village goddess, is a ferocious goddess. So people are afraid of this goddess. Once in a year, she has to be appeased. She has to be satisfied. She has to be offered many kind of sacrifices, many kind of pujas there. I'll take in a brief way to explain these things, that in Mahabharata Jatara, what happens? So there also the village is sanctified. The entire village is transformed into a sacred space. This terrestrial space is transported into a celestial space. How it? I'll explain that. In this, once the Tirunalla is started one day, it happens generally in August, in some villages in August, September, October. In these 3 months, all the Mahabharata Tirunallas happen in Chittoor district and Tamil Nadu also. August, September, October. So in these months, Draupadi Tirunalla, in one day they start. After they starting, for entire 11 days, or in some places in 18 days, the Mahabharata is narrated in daytime in the village premises, in the temple premises. Entire Mahabharata is narrated in the form of Harikatha. It's also a folk performance, not classical one. Daytime they narrate the Mahabharata, and nighttime performances are there. Vidanatakams are there. In Mahabharatam, Vidanatakams are there. It is well known. Kuppam Vidanatakam is well known in the entire area. And in between, in some days, some special kinds of rituals are organized. Rituals are officiated. These are, one is Arjuna Tapasman. Second one is Uttargograhanam. Third one is Bakasura Vadha. Fourth one is Duryodhana Vadha. All these 4 rituals are very important. Then what happens? In the time of these 4 kind of rituals, in these 11 days also, the entire village is treated as the arena for the Mahabharata. And some scholars, they thought that it is a reenactment of the Mahabharata events. But I don't want to classify, I don't want to describe it as a reenactment. No, it's not a reenactment. It's a kind of transformation into the present time, into a celestial time, and a present situation into transforming into a sacred kind of mythological kind of space. This is one important aspect I analyzed from these ritual processes. Then what happens? When Arjuna Tapasman ritual is there, it happens in the daytime. And there is a very big Tapasman, one 30 feet, one imposing pole is there. And on the top of that one, some puja dravyam is and coconut and some turmeric and vermilion and some flowers are tied at the top of the post. And one devotee, and generally every year some few devotees, they transform themselves into an Arjuna. And then to imitate that Arjuna is going to a peak of a mount, and this person, he climbs up to the Tapasman. And while going on to the Tapasman, he recites some poems, some songs, like Arjuna. After getting his Pashupatastra, he goes to the Kailas Parvata. It's a symbolic act. And before on that area, many devotees, hundreds of devotees, they go to, they congregate there, and some women, childless women, they sleep down, they sleep on the earth. And this person, this Arjuna, he walks on the back of this woman. And after going to the top of that imposting post, he throws some lemon fruits, he throws some flowers, some puja material, and down to the earth. And this woman, they spread their sari to catch them. It is believed that the puja dravyam, or the lemon fruits or the flowers, which they got, expressed to the families. This is one ritual. This is enacted, not enacted. The entire space, the time, temporal and spatial process is transformed into a celestial one. The Arjuna, the person became actually live Arjuna, and the persons who are there in the village, they transformed themselves into the persons of the Mahabharata period. This one event that transforms into one thing, that is the entire Mahabharata came down to the earth. That's one thing. This one ritual. The other ritual is Uttargograhana. This Uttargograhana is also brought down from, or transported from the village into the celestial one. And the Arjuna came, and Uttara comes, and Kauravas are there on the one side of the village, and Arjuna and his chariot is there in the other side. And actually some hundreds of cows, cattle are brought on the border of the village. And Arjuna goes there, and he fights with the Kaurava army, and he brings back the all cattle into the village. It actually happens. It's not reenactment. What the process says, that the entire village gone to the Mahabharata time. It is a temporal transportation. It's a temporal transportation to the physical space, that village, into a celestial one, into it taken to the Mahabharata time. That is the purpose. That is the process there, which happens there. And the third important event, that is Bakasura Vadha. So one devotee who looks like a Bhima in the village, he dress up like Bhima, and he takes a gada. And before that day, this Bhima goes to every household, every family, with a big bowl or a big vessel, and he collects rice from each village, each family of the village. And the next day morning, the entire village cooks the food, a huge heap of rice. It is prepared. And what the Bhima does is, he collects all the rice into a big cart, bullock cart, and he drives the bullock cart outside of the village, border of the village. There he finds the Bakasura. Actual Bakasura is there. And he invites the Bakasura for a war. And the Bakasura was waiting to the rice-loaded cart. And he wants to eat the cattle along with the rice, and along with the person who brought the rice on the cart. But here this time, none other than the Bhima drove the cart, and he came out to the village. And there is a fight. There is a mock fight between the Bakasura and the Bhima. And the Bhima kills the Bakasura, and he leaves the body there. And that person, he removes the costume of the Bakasura, and he joins in the village. And the Bhima draws back the cartload of rice, the cooked rice and curries, all these things. He brings back the cart to the village. And then the entire village sits in the streets to receive that Mahaprasada, that food. And they consider it is a Mahaprasada given by the gods. The god none other than the Bhima, the gods Pandavas, the goddess Devat, the goddess Draupadi. It is the prasadam of these 6 gods and goddesses, 5 gods and 1 goddess, and Pandavas and Draupadi. And the entire village becomes it is transported into the time of Mahabharata, and the entire village people is transformed into the persons of Mahabharata time. Bhima is there, Pandavas are there, Draupadi is there, and entire villagers are came into that particular village, which was there in Mahabharata epic, and this status, it continues up to 11 days or 18 days. The final one, that is Duryodhana Vadha. In the outskirts of the village, still you can find in many villages that the Duryodhana's earth made, the Duryodhana image is made by earth. It is a mud, they prepare one. And the entire Pandavas goes out to the outside of the village. That outside of the village, it is like our Uttara Gograhana. The outside of the village is transformed into the Mahabharata Kurukshetra. And on the one side, the Duryodhana is there, Kauravas are there. On this side, Pandavas are there. All Pandavas are 5 Pandavas are there. And Pandav Sainyam, it is Pandav Sainyam, the entire village people are Pandav Sainyam. And there is a mock fight between Duryodhana and Bhima and all these things. And incidentally, eventually, at the end of the ritual, Bhima kills Duryodhana. And the image of Duryodhana, which is made up of earth, mud, and all the villagers from both the sides, they come down to the image of Duryodhana, and they dismantle the village. They dismantle the image of that Duryodhana made up of mud, and they take each piece of that mud, they take away, and they sprinkle it in their fields, and it is considered as a sacred one, and it gives prosperity to their crops. And this Mahabharata is the final event of that 5 days or 11 days ritual, and in some other villages it is 18 days. So in all these 11 days, the village is transformed into a sacred space. No kind of bad things should happen in that particular village in those days, and every family it considered as an auspicious time. And most of the villages, Vanniya Kshatriya, Agnikula Kshatriya, they organize, most of the people, they organize this ritual in many places. So the other angle of this particular ritual is the entire ritual, the Mahabharata ritual, it elevates the social status of these Vannikulas, which are generally called, considered as BCs. It elevates their social status into a Kshatriya status. It gives a promotion to that social status. That is another angle of this particular ritual process. So this ritual space is open-ended space, but there is a boundary. There is a boundary, but open-ended boundary. So here also the process is sacrality, and terrestrial space to celestial space. And the thing is, it's a kind of transformation. How a Jatara transforms spatial and temporal aspects from one to other one. The third example I would like to give, that is nothing but Madigalu Jatara. Then everybody knows that I need not explain what is Madigalu Jatara, where it happens, and what is its process. I need not tell all these things. But briefly, I'll tell one thing, that Madigalu Jatara, Sammakka Saramma Jatara, is a tribal one. In tribal rituals, in tribal religious practices, no idol worship is there. And no idol is there for Sammakka or Saralamma. And Sammakka and Saralamma are symbolized into a tree. Even actually these gaddas were not there earlier days. I went there. I did some field work in 2 times. And I interviewed all the pujaris of the Sammakka Saralamma, all their vamsas. their lineage. I interviewed their priests also. And what happens in those 3 days? 3 days, that is, these 3 days are considered as most sacred days. How till then the entire Maridamma area, these gaddas and these are that total ritual place, it is not sacred one. It is not the ritual place actually. Then when it is transformed into that particular ritual status, that is, the goddess lives in particular one hilltop. Chilakala Gutta, it is called Chilakala Gutta. She lives in that Chilakala Gutta in the entire year. Even then, of course, that Chilakala Gutta, that is treated as that Gutta, that is mount, that is a hillock, is treated as a sacred one. No one wants to, no one wanted to spoil that sacrality. They don't do that. Even then, the goddess is not there in that particular one. But one one casket of vermilion, it is called Kunkuma Bharana. It is there on the hilltop in some small box. But on that particular day, that particular sacred day, it is believed that the goddess Samaka, goddess Saralamma, they are installed. They themselves install themselves into that particular Kunkuma Bharana. Then the Kunkuma Bharana is symbolized, is another form of the goddess Samaka and Saralamma. And this Kunkuma Bharana is brought to that particular Gadya. When it is brought there, when it is brought to that place, the entire space becomes a sacred one. So, but that 2 and 3 days, this entire place is transformed into a celestial one, and goddess Samaka and Saralamma, they live there. They live there for this some sacred period. So the sacrality, the godly quality is ascribed on a tree. Now it is being ascribed on a gadda, on a post, wooden post. The godly qualities are ascribed to that wooden post and particularly to the tree. So till then, till the 3 days, particular for these 3 days, they are goddesses. And all the people go there and they offer their respects, puja, all these things. In brief, this is one, the Samaka and Sarlama Jatara. And after all the remaining period, it is not a sacred one. But of course, people go there and they offer their respects to that place. But actually, the goddess lives only for those 3 days in that particular place. So that particular period is a liminal period. I would like to call this liminal space and liminal period. And this liminal period is not polluted. It is a sacred one. And in that particular time, the space is transformed, transported from profane to sacred, and sacred to terrestrial to celestial. Friends, so this is I must have taken more than half an hour, but this is one thing I would like to express this. We need to have more time, and I will do with the visuals, videos and photographs after some time. We'll get this kind of opportunity again and again. I would like to express my happiness and thanks to my former colleague and my dearest friend for the last 33 years to Professor Nagaraju. And he has been doing human service to the culture, Indian culture. I don't want to say that Telugu culture. He has been doing a lot of service to the Indian culture and for its sustenance. And I would like to thank all the participants which are there. I would like to see all the gallery at least one time. I request the organizer to administer to show the gallery, entire gallery. At least I can see the face of all of my friends. Thank you. If at all some questions are there, brief, direct questions, brief questions are there, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Subbachary garu. It was a wonderful presentation. You covered 2 different kinds of jataras and how the terrestrial space is transformed into celestial space. It was really wonderful. May I ask all the other panelists also to switch on the videos?
Yes, that's important.
Sharda ji, Deepa ji, Vanaspati ji, Rudra Vikrama ji. Professor Subbachary wants to see all the faces.
Okay.
Okay, let us try. So next time, Professor Subbachary garu, I'll check if there are any questions.
Yeah, please.
There are.
At least questioner. People who are questioning, I am happy to see them also, at least.
There is one Madhu Vatteri. He is saying, please tell us about Baddi Pochamma temple festivals where men dress like women. Mahabharata Jatara, Vaijayanti Chakravarti ji is taking. She's just saying that she's happy to know that it is performed in the adjoining Telugu regions also.
Yes.
Okay, so that's not a question. But the question from Madhu Vatteri ji is about Baddi Pochamma temple festivals where men dress like women. Do you have any idea about this Baddi Pochamma temple? Yeah, so Madhu Garu, it's not possible for all the researchers to know all the temples and all the jatras. So that is a totally different jatra than what Professor Subbachary covered. Thank you very much for the question and for your interest. Maybe the symbolism that was covered by Sumanaspati Garu regarding Ganga Jatara is very similar to the symbolism in Baddi Pochamma temple also, but we cannot say unless we actually go to the place, do field work and gather the information from the actual participants of the Jatara. So thank you very much, Subbachary Garu. In your busy schedule, you were able to spare time for this event. I know that you are very busy and you need to go somewhere after this presentation. Thank you very much for taking time and coming and presenting this wonderful talk. Now,